Hello and welcome back. I'm Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and it is vlog day today, so happy to see every single one of you. So today I am getting started on my bulk order that I need to do, so I'm going to take you guys along on that journey. So I have a lot of prep work that I have to do, so we're going to go ahead and get moving and get started on that. Whether you have a big bulk order you're working on or you are doing a big ready to ship drop in your shop to sell all those tumblers, I hope that this kind of helps you out today with how I do mine. So first and foremost, before I get started here and telling you guys the stuff that I'm using here, I didn't want to overwhelm myself because I've learned just in the past, I've done numerous bulk orders and I always overwhelmed myself. I decided just to do half this time around. So I only have 12 in the box here. So half of them will be a glitter swirl, while the other half, because the customer decided they didn't want all of them to be glitter swirls, just in case somebody didn't like the glitter swirl. So the other half will have just the logo, and I'm going to put rhinestones on the logo. So that'll be pretty easy. So I'm going to be doing 24 of these 40 ounce. Oh, there we go. I'm going to be doing 24 of these 40 ounce Stanley looking dupes. So six of these, there we go, will need to have the handles removed so that way I can sand them down and get the glitter onto them, while the other 6, I'm going to go ahead and do the vinyl. I'm not going to do the vinyl today with you guys. We're just focusing on the glitter swirls today. So first things first, take off the handles. That little container there that I have, it's a magnetic container. I'm putting the screws directly into that, and then I'm going to put the lid and the handle right back into the box because I plan on putting everything right back into the box that it came in whenever it's all said and done to give to the customers. But that's the first part of organizing. You want to make sure that all the materials are in a place that you're going to be able to find them when it's all said and done. So this to me is just the easiest way to do that. And of course, I'll put everything that I'm using today down in the description box for you guys, like the little metal tray or the magnetic tray and all that. I'll make sure to put it down there for you guys where I got it and all that. So if you want to purchase it, you can. So now the next part is coming through and sanding everything. So these are sublimated tumblers. So like I said, they still have like that glossy look to it. So that way you can do the sublimation over top. You just want to scuff that up a bit until it gets a little bit dull. You don't want to do it all the way down to the stainless. You just want to give it a good scuff to kind of dull it down a bit. So that way our epoxy adheres very well to it. So the tumblers that I'm using today, I purchased through Mother Tumbler. Now, usually I do use the Stainless Depot company, and I searched around and I decided I wanted to try out Mother Tumbler, and I really liked the packaging. It was super fast shipping. The boxes were really nice, like held together, because sometimes, you get from the Stainless Depot and sometimes the boxes are a little crinkled, but it is what it is. It's not a big deal. But, if you like to reuse the boxes to give to your customers, these boxes were all in pristine condition. So anyways, I'm just going to continue to go ahead and sand all these down, and then I'm going to rinse them off. I have a little bucket of water, and then I dry it off with my towel, and then we will take it outside and spray paint. All right, we're outside, and you're like, Sandy, why are you spray painting it when it's already pink? Yes, I know. We're just doing one stripe across the front and one stripe across the back. This is going to help us out when we go to glitter, so that way our swirls and our cups, there we go, will all look almost similar to one another. I think that's the biggest thing when you do bulk orders, or if you're doing multiple of the same exact cup, is you want them all to look almost exactly like what, the picture you showed your customer, so you want to try to make sure that you're able to do that same look repeatedly. So this is my way of doing that. So as you've seen, I faced out the area where the handles go in one direction, and now I'm going to go ahead and take my spray paint, and I'll show you where I get started with that. So right where that top knob is for the handle, I'm going to start there, and I'm going to make my way around all the way, and my shoulder's in the way, all the way around up to the top to exactly half of the tumbler. So it's like right on the other side of where that stripe began is where I'm going to end at the very top. So when it comes to, again, to doing bulk orders or anything that you're doing, a lot of one of, the biggest thing is supplies, because you want to make sure that you don't run out of your supplies, because that's even worse than anything, is running out right in the middle of trying to do something, right? So you're like in the swing of doing it, and then all of a sudden you run out of a specific material that you needed. So when it comes to buying your materials, I always say, when you're doing bulk, you want to buy in bulk. So I bought bulk tumblers. It's cheaper that way. When it comes to buying your vinyl, try to find a vinyl place that you can buy in bulk, depending on what you're doing. Make sure you price it out and you get a good deal for yourself, because in the end, you want to make the best price for yourself as well. And I'm going to talk about pricing these tumblers out as well at the end here with you guys. But even just making sure that your shipping materials, the box that all these tumblers came in, if I had to ship all these out, is exactly the box I would use to ship it to my customer. So I put them all back into their individual boxes and put those individual boxes back into the box that it was shipped to me in. And that will save you some money as well. So we'll go back to that subject in a second, but I'm done with painting here. So I'm just gonna go and I'm going to make sure that my lines are all pretty much the same. I'm gonna look at it from the side. And as you can see, they all pretty much line up very well on this side. So right there at the bottom, and they all pretty much line up. And if something's off a little bit, you can just come back through and kind of adjust your lines a bit. I'm gonna come over to the other side and I'm gonna take a look at it as well. And I like how everything is all nicely lined up, and that's good on that side. So now we're gonna get started on the other side. So lining up again with that handle at the very top, I'm going to take that handle and I'm just going to line it up right at the very top. So straight up, right there is where I'm going to start. And then again, straight around to the other side, ending right at the half point mark there. So it would be like right even with where I started, just on the opposite side. So again, right at the very top, straight up from where the bottom of that handle is. I'm going to go from there all the way down to the other side, just right even with it. So that's pretty much the 2 stripes that I'm going to be doing there. So the biggest thing is, I would say, write down a list of the things you're going to need, so that way you know what you need to get and make sure you have the supplies needed to be able to get it done. Then you're going to need to figure out and make sure that once you price your tumblers, that you are making your best deal, because you also want to put in the time and effort that you're doing as well, because these take a lot of time, especially these big old 40 ounces take a little bit longer. They take a bit more material, but you also want to give a good deal because they're buying in bulk. You know what I'm saying? So again, we'll talk about that at the end, but it's all about trying to make sure that the materials you're using are top quality, like of course, good quality glitter, but then like other materials you can kind of lay back on, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was never one to kind of overdo my shipping. When I would ship out a tumbler, I didn't do anything too crazy. It was the tumbler and a thank you card, and that was pretty much it. There's nothing wrong with doing all that extra stuff, but it just comes down to pricing and making sure that if you're already giving a good deal, you don't want to tack on anything else that might push you over to where you're really not making any money. So that's all I'm saying. So now that this side's done, as you can see, I'm just going through and kind of zhuzhing any little lines that need to be fixed, and then I'm going to let that dry, and then we'll start glittering. So if you didn't watch my last vlog, I showed off the tumbler I will be doing. This is what I want it to look like in the end, so that's what I'm going for here. So that's what we're doing. And also, for anybody who might have asked out loud, why did I use sublimatable tumbler that's all pink? Again, this is just kind of an ease thing. It's very helpful that it's already the color that I need it to be, and I don't have to waste any extra materials getting it to be the color that I want it to be. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with epoxying over top of sublimatable tumblers. I've been doing it for years. Back in the day, I used to use white sublimatable tumblers to help me out, because I used to spray paint all my tumblers white, because white was probably the #1 color that people wanted, and then you add your stuff over top. Anyways, I would get white sublimatable tumblers to help me out in that process, and they're still lasting all these years later. Okay, moving on. So we're going to go ahead and get glitter in here. The first glitter I'm going to use is Starlight. It has a pink undertone when put over certain things. I'm going to be using Beloved, and I will also be using 50K and Moonstone. So because these tumblers are so large, and because I'm doing a more kind of swirl look to it, so I need to be using multiple glitters and swirling them onto the tumbler, I'm going to use glitter glue today to adhere my glitter down to my tumbler. The reason for that is I can work a little bit slower. With the epoxy, you got to work quick. And like I said, because these are so large, I flicked some stuff off there. I didn't know if you'd be able to see that on screen, but you sure could. But because I'm working on such a large surface, I need more time to be able to do this. And I just felt like the epoxy probably would have just cured right away. And then I'd have to be mixing up more epoxy. So this was just the way to go. All right, jumping right into the design, I'm going to start with 50K, and I'm going to go right up the one side of that lighter swirl that we did. So I'm just going to kind of put that on and then just take some with my fingers and kind of let it drape over just a tad. You don't want to cover it completely because we're still going to come through with the moonstone and fill in a little bit more of that white stripe. I'm going to go ahead and do the opposite side as well, so that way we get both sides done at the same time. Then after that gets all sprinkled out, don't forget to do the bottom. We need to do the bottom too. Then we'll come through with our moonstone and go right up against that 50K that we did. Again, straight up that lighter area that we provided for ourselves. And that's going to be where we do the leopard print, which won't be this one. So we're just glittering today. Then I'm going to go ahead and take the starlight and I'm going to fill that in because with those two were chunkies and that was my filler. So now we're going to take the beloved and we're just going to do a stripe up and letting that drape off to each side, filling it in, giving us that beautiful swirl. I know I'm using glitter glue, and the main reason why I like to use epoxy is to get those chunkies to lay flat. But if you do it just right, you shouldn't have any issues with this glitter laying flat. So I used a good amount of my glitter glue, and then I just sprinkled on the chunky glitter until it was filled but not too filled, which is why we came through with the fine glitter to fill in all the extra space around it, and which is why we make sure that the underneath is the color we want it to be, so that way if there is some spaces, it all kind of goes well with each other. So now I'm just coming through and I'm going to tap down the chunky glitter after it's all said and done, and that's pretty smooth for me. And then we're going to set that off to the side and let that dry, and then we're ready to move on to epoxy. But take a look. So we made sure that each one of these stripes are about the same on each one, and each one of these tumblers look almost exactly alike. So you're able to do this on repeat, making sure that everything looks almost as similar as the next one once it's all said and done. So now, before we epoxy, I'm going to come through and sweep off any extra glitter that didn't adhere down to the glitter glue. And this is also the point that once you're done sweeping, if you have any open spaces that need to be filled in, I do have a space up there that I'll show you what I do here in a second. But after I get done sweeping, I'm going to come through the chunky glitter and I'm actually going to take my finger and rub across it, and anything that's poking up will just come right off. And then again, that's going to help out and make sure that this is as smooth as possible, so that way we don't need too much epoxy to coat over top of all this to get the look done. So I noticed right at the bottom I had a little spot that just didn't have absolutely any glitter on it. It happens, you know, you're brushing, you don't even realize you're just trying to get moving here, you know. So I took a little bit of that glue on my finger and I'm going to kind of blend that out just a little bit, because if you have it too bumpy in there, you'll be able to see where you filled in. So I just took my finger, dabbed it in there, sprinkled some glitter right on top, and you can't even tell that there was a spot missing. All right, everything's all dry. We're ready to get our epoxy going, but one more thing before the epoxy is I'm going to spray everything down really well with my 2x Ultra here. This is going to help out make sure that none of that epoxy wicks away off of our tumblers, and it'll also make sure that our glitters stay put in the places that we want it to stay put in and not bleed over to the other places. These are big boys, all right? I have 4 ounces of epoxy here, 4 ounces. So I did 2 pumps each. Each pump is 1 ounce, yeah, 4 ounces, all right? And I took every bit of that epoxy to coat these. I know a lot of you guys turn your tumblers different than I do. I hold on to my tumblers and apply my epoxy, while I know the majority of you guys now apply the epoxy while it's on the turner. This is just something I've done since the beginning, and this is just how I feel comfortable. So again, epoxy the way you feel comfortable doing it. You don't need to do it exactly the way I do it, okay? I'm just saying, just letting you guys know. I just personally feel I have more control over my epoxy when I do it in this manner. All right, anyways, so we're doing a coating of our epoxy over the raw glitter, and that's why we needed so much epoxy, because this right here, it just really absorbs, okay? We wanna try to get it as smooth as possible with not putting too much epoxy on. I can't stress that enough. I like to do thinner layers of epoxy when it comes to coating over top of my glitter. This is going to help out in the end with you if you're having issues epoxies with bubbles at the very bottom, so it's wobbly once it's cured. If you go to set it down, it's wobbly. You might be putting too much epoxy on your layers, okay? Or if you're having lumps in certain places and you don't understand, like the bottom has a lip or the top has a lip, obviously you need to come through and make sure that your turner is level, but it also may be just too much application of your epoxy at one time. So I'm literally just applying enough to where it's just like a skim coat over the top of the epoxy. I know we call it a flood coat, but I'm gonna call mine a skim coat because I'm not exactly flooding it, but I definitely want it covered. And to be honest, this is probably a rare moment of me showing you fully in real time exactly how I epoxy a tumbler. So here you guys go. So now I got the epoxy and I'm really focusing on the bottom. I'm pulling off any extra from off the bottom and around that middle because I know those are two areas where it bulks up. Then I'm gonna come through and make sure that it's all even across the top, all the way up to the lip. I'm making sure that I'm not putting too much epoxy over where the handles need to reattach. I'm not too worried about that. Some people tape it off. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to come through and I'm going to peel that away in the end. I'll show you guys what I do. But again, you just want to focus on that bottom, pulling that extra off and pulling the extra off around the middle and then letting that rotate on your turner. Now I'm going to go ahead and just hit that up with my torch really good, and I'm going to let those spin, and then I'm going to need to put another coating of epoxy over top before we move on to the next step. All right, so that's what I have gotten done so far at this point. Let me show you guys. I just put the second coat of epoxy over top of what I've done already to give myself a little bit smoother of a surface. We'll talk more about that because I mean, there's still some lumps here and there, but it's not a big deal. We can sand that out whenever it comes time. So I like to just come through and just kind of give it, I mean, there's nothing really I can do about it now, but I come through and if you look, so much of a glare, but they're very, very similar. That's why I like to try to see even where the handles are at, very similar. So there we go. I like it. Looking good so far. I want these things to be perfect. You know, these are expensive, okay? And that's where we come with pricing. So obviously you want to get your pricing down. Obviously, if somebody comes to you and is like, I want to do a bulk order, can you give me a deal? These are things that you're going to need to think about. So the Stanley dupes, they're huge. You're using more material. You're using your good epoxy, your good glitter, more material, so you need to think about how much of a deal you want to give. Do you want to give $10 off each cup? Do you want to give $5 off each cup? Whatever you decide, is completely up to you. Or if you already have your tumblers at a decent price as it is, then it's okay to say, I can't do a deal, The only thing that you probably could do, especially if you have to ship it off, because then instead of having to ship individually with your tumblers, maybe you could give a better deal with the shipping type thing. It's totally up to you guys on how you want to do it. So this is just how I do it. So to kind of, Jeff's with me now. I know he's jumping in here because I already talked about some other stuff, but he's actually the one that helps me out with the pricing when it comes to this. He's the guy I go to. He's my go-to guy for all that. So I'm gonna let him there. Yeah, he's my banker. He's my you're like everything.
I'm your hype man.
He's my hype man. He's it all. So I'm gonna go ahead and.
If you want to be fancy, I'm the marketing director.
The marketing director. So he's like, helps me out. So
yeah. So we've talked about pricing a lot.
Yes.
It's kind of something that a lot of people don't like to talk about.
Yeah.
So because it's difficult, because what you've paid for the blanks.
Yes.
It's not a lot if you're buying them
in
wholesale.
Bulk. Yeah.
Yeah. But what other people charge for these things.
Yes.
But it's all in what your customer base is willing to pay.
Yeah.
You have to find that, it's a fine line there. You have to find a good compromise between what what you think your things are worth and what people are willing to pay.
And like he said, it's all in the customers that are around you, because, somebody might charge $200 for something, depending, if it's a rhinestone tumbler and whatnot, but the people surrounding you are not willing to pay that. So you have to think about that. You have to think about the surrounding people. Or if you sell online, they might be more than willing to pay you that. You know, if the majority of your sales are coming from somewhere else, you know, then okay. But if you're just selling in your town, you know, it might be different. So
yeah, I guess that's a whole nother aspect to pricing, is the bulk pricing. We've got a bulk order here. They're purchasing 24 of these things.
Yes.
And customers tend to want a discount when they're making a large purchase and like that. And that's totally understandable. Yeah. But, you know, from a creator's aspect, it's probably actually harder for you to do 24 identical cups. Or I guess there's 12 and 12, but still.
So that's what I was talking about with them, was each one has to look almost similar to the next. So you're doing 20, well, I'm doing half.
12 and 12.
12 and 12. 12 of the glitter, 12 of the rhinestone. But you want it to look exactly the same, and you want it to be perfect.
Yeah, because they're going to see them all. You know, it's different when one person gets one cup and go, oh, wow, look at it.
Yeah.
But when, you know, they're not going to be identical. That's just the nature of it.
But
you know, these are handmade. But when they get them all together, you want them to all look perfect. Yes. To them, and that's a whole nother level.
And that's how you get your customers. I've said this repeatedly. If you guys look back at my old videos and everything, it's those moments where you do these bulk orders, or, you know, if you're doing a lot of sales because it's Christmas or whatever it may be. That's how you get repeat customers, is if you give them a great experience, if you work well with them, communicate with them, if, you know, everything is just right, it's going to be that snowball effect, because what they're going to do, because they had such an amazing experience, is they're going to branch out and they're going to proudly display their cup, and they're going to say, this is where I got it. You definitely need to go see this person. And then that person's going to go to you. And then it's just a snowball effect of, that's how you get repeat customers, and that's how you continue to get lots and lots of tumbler sales. And that's how exactly what happened to me. It was just a snowball effect of people returning back, telling others, and that's how I made my thousands of sales. So, you know, and that's why I'm here with you, to help you. But this is just this one bulk order, so I don't know.
Another thing that I've always taken into account is shipping costs.
Yeah.
You know, shipping 2 cups isn't that much more than shipping one. So you can kind of give your customer a little bit of a deal if you want to eat that shipping. You know, they're already paying for shipping on 2 of them if you've built that into your pricing. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of wiggle room there. Now, when it gets into the big bulk orders, if you're like, we're not shipping these, I'm going to take them into the office. But when you get into the very large orders, that's where shipping gets a little tricky, because you don't know how much it's going to be.
Well, I was telling everybody,
the bigger, heavier boxes are always a lot more expensive, and that's when you start shopping around at different carriers too.
Yeah,
so
and everybody
get your best deal.
Everybody always has their specific carrier they like. You know, somebody could suggest pirate ship or whatever to you, but then you go on there and you're like, that's not a good deal. So it's all about you going out and figuring out what's right for you. I can't stress that enough. I could sit here and say something all day, it works for me, but you might turn around and be like, no, that's not right, you know, that's not right and that's okay. I'm just here to give suggestions and try to be helpful, you know, and that's all there is to it. Never take one thing that somebody says and be like, that's how it should be. I you know.
Yep.
Just suggestions. You look into it. You figure out what's right for you.
Yep. That's a whole nother thing that's regional.
Yes.
And can be different for different people. It depends on you know how much stuff you ship.
Yeah.
They might give you a better deal.
That's true.
Or if you go through something like pirate ship, they get special discounts.
Yes. Yep.
As opposed to just going directly with the carriers.
Yep.
You know, we did ShipStation for a little while.
We did.
It was okay. The biggest thing for us was doing the bulk shipping. That was worth it right there. Now we're with Shippo because our hosting company is partnered with them. So yeah, that's the only reason we're with Shippo now, but it works well for us.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where you can take suggestions, go check it out for yourself, figure out if that makes sense for you, you know?
So this is pretty much, I hope this first half helped you guys, because I'm not done yet. This is just the first half. Next time I come back on the vlog, I'm going to be doing up the rhinestone portion. You know how often I rhinestone, so I might make you guys help me out with that. I mean, I think you guys could help me out with that.
I don't know.
Oh, come on. Anyways, and then we're gonna get the vinyls put on this and finish up these glitter tumblers as well. The dog's down here choking. So I think that's gonna do it for us for today. I hope this helped you guys out, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.